who you are accountable to makes a huge impact on your potential for living a truly abundant life. And I mean abundant in every sense of the word. I'm Patrice Washington, and this is the Redefining Wealth podcast, where authenticity leads to alignment and abundance. Join us each week as we peel back the layers on what wealth truly means and dive into conversations that inspire, connect, and empower you to live your richest life. Get ready to challenge the status quo. It's time to redefine wealth for yourself. Hey there, welcome back to Redefining Wealth. Please remember where you are. This is a community that believes that wealth is so much more than money and material possessions. We believe in the original 12th century definition of wealth, which says it's about the condition of well-being and happiness. And in order for you to be well, to be happy, to be abundant, I am here to tell you, my friend, that requires accountability. No greatness is ever created in isolation. And so I wanted to do a rewind back to another summer episode some years back where I talk about the belief systems that keep you from abundance. And a big one is this idea that I don't need anyone. That's how many of us were raised, or I can't trust anyone. And so we're going to dive into 3 levels of accountability I would like for you to consider. And we'll get to it right after this affirmation of the week. This week's affirmation is, my dream demands accountability. My dream demands that I be accountable to more than just myself. So I rise to the occasion with both practical and divine guidance and wisdom. I embrace the responsibility of my vision by staying attuned to my own inner wisdom while also leveraging wise counsel from trusted mentors, coaches, and other communities I choose to surround myself with. I know that there are levels to the type of accountability that truly produces abundance, and I'm open to seeking them out. With unwavering commitment, I honor my dream and the next level accountability that dream requires, knowing that each time I allow myself to be supported by others, it brings me closer to manifesting my soul's deepest desires. Declare with me today, my dream demands accountability. Today, I really wanted to get into this topic about accountability, and I'm calling this episode Abundance Requires Accountability because I think that we've talked a lot this year about getting results, not resolutions. That's how we kick the year off. We've talked about earning more money in different ways, and we've talked about even topics like not being selective with what you're willing to surrender, just kind of understanding how to embrace life as it comes and not letting the things that would normally take you out. And so I believe that all of those things are steps that you can take towards abundance. But let's be real. If you're honest, it's still difficult to acknowledge that while you may know what steps you need to take, or you may know why they're important, or you may even have a clear picture of what's possible on the other side of whatever it is you're going through right now. The truth is there's something that still holds you back sometimes. There's something that still makes you kind of get 80% of the way there, and then you start to fall off or drift off. I saw someone say the other day on Instagram that they were a professional non-finisher. They had several professional pursuits that they started and just kept stopping and kept shifting from one thing to the next. And I know people who will say, well, that's all about fear. That's either a fear of failure or fear of success. And like we talked about on the episode, Face Your Fears with Doreen Rainey, that could be it for many people. But I also think that one missing link for many of the people that I meet is simply that you just have no accountability. Because so many of us have just been raised to have this keep people out of your business mentality. But I found personally in my own life that success just cannot be created in a vacuum. I don't believe anyone experiences true, lasting, sustainable success in a bubble by themselves. And if they do, I would really assume that eventually that becomes a miserable existence because we were created for companionship. We were created to fellowship with others. And so what I see a lot is this just mentality of, I got to make it happen on my own. I have to make it happen for myself. And as much as people are connected online, there are so many studies out there right now that are saying that people are the loneliest they've ever been. Isn't that crazy? Where you can pick up your phone and be connected to millions of people in some form or fashion through these social media platforms in particular, and actually feel very, very alone. This is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's just a big thing. Feeling lonely, feeling like you have no one to support you, no one to encourage you, especially as life continues to hurdle things at you, sometimes that you're just not prepared for. You need people. And as you know, we have 6 pillars here at Redefining Wealth. And the second pillar is people. It's about creating relationships that matter. And I would really venture to say that who you are accountable to makes a huge impact on your potential for living a truly abundant life. And I mean abundant in every sense of the word, because abundance is about having a large quantity of something or being in excess. And so I believe that as we're doing the work here, right, week after week, every Thursday you show up, you're ready to do the work and have one of these pillars unpacked. And it's helping you grow, I know, not just in your finances, but in your life. I get so many emails and direct messages and even the reviews on Apple Podcasts and other platforms. They keep talking about how this is not just financially transforming your life. It's also just transforming your life, how you actually see life. And so I believe that if we keep doing this work week after week on these pillars and we're growing in mind and body and spirit and obviously in our finances, then that comes with new opportunities for growth. That comes with new challenges that we may have never seen before and don't even know anyone who's seen them before. It comes with new perspectives, possibly, that we'll need to embrace and really get help understanding how to embrace them, because you don't know what you don't know until you're faced with it. And so for me personally, that's included really breaking free of the old adages or family mantras or even just the belief systems that would say that you don't tell anyone your business or you don't share what you're doing because someone else will steal your idea. I'm sure you've heard that. Or even give it to the Lord and he'll guide you, which I believe. But I also believe that for me personally, the Lord has spoken to me through people, known and unknown. I've been spoken to by complete strangers in an Uber, in a Subway, a restaurant, in a gift shop, in a hotel. I've had people speak into my life. And so I really think that sometimes our inability to be vulnerable to this idea of accountability, accountability-based relationships is what keeps us from our best. It's what keeps us from truly being able to experience the abundance that I believe is available to all of us. And so today I just really wanted to break down kind of 3 levels of accountability for you to consider, because sometimes I think when we hear the term accountability, a lot of times it's used in a way to kind of blame people, like you're accountable for such and such, as opposed to really just having that support system that will not let you get in your own way. I'll say it that way. That support system that won't let you get in your own way. And so the first level of this, in my opinion, is to be accountable to others in some form or fashion. In my birthday episode, one of the folks that left a voicemail and they asked who was in my wisdom circle. That was her dean. Who was in my wisdom circle? In my circle, we call it our circle of trust, or in the business setting, it might be a mastermind group or some entity that's outside of your house, preferably, who will hold you to your greatness and make sure that you are taking the steps necessary and consistently to get what it is you say you want. I'm all for showing yourself grace. I've really learned to show myself grace over the years, but I also know that there's times when I need to get things done and I need that firm voice. And I don't think that it always should be your spouse or your significant other or a family member who's really close to you, because, sometimes they will enable you and allow you to, again, kind of get off the hook. And that just doesn't always work. One of my accountability partners is Brandy Harvey, and she had an episode. She was actually the first episode of this year where we talked about fitness and your roots creating your fruits. And she's my good girlfriend as well. But Brandy and I check in every month on our goals. We cover our goals for every area of life. So all the pillars that you guys are learning along with me, our goals are broken down basically by the pillars. And we list 2 to 3 things under each pillar that we want to accomplish. And we just hold each other accountable. And we give each other feedback. And we give each other a push or a nudge when we need it. And we also show each other grace. I think there's a great mix of that. There's a great balance to that. But I also have a group of business girlfriends. We're called the Legendary Collective. And we meet nationally twice a year and internationally once a year. And we discuss our business goals and the systems, the processes. We discuss what challenges we're having. And the other women in the group will chime in and share what they've heard, what they've done, what their perspectives are. And that's always really good. And then I told you earlier in this year about Brunch with Bridesmaids, where I hit my 10-year anniversary last year and looked up and realized that my girlfriends and I all doing our thing. Everyone is super successful and that's great, but we don't always get to put eyeballs on each other. And I'm very fortunate to still have good girlfriends who've been my friends since high school and college and shortly after college. But we've been brunching lately and making sure that we could just really talk about like what's going on in pop culture, what's happening in the news, and making sure that we're all okay, family-wise and spirit-wise and all that stuff. And so having different levels of accountability to others, I think is like the secret sauce for really maximizing abundance. Because you guys hear me say this all the time with the faith pillar, that there's so much going on in life, so much being thrown at us, so many different hats that we are juggling at any given point in time. And if we're not careful, it can just weigh us down. It could weigh us down and wear us out. And it's always good to have that sounding board, to have that circle of people, that one confidant who you can talk to and you can maybe cry on their shoulder, but they can also build you back up and throw you back in the ring. And I think when people don't have accountability for others and you miss that, it's really easy to slip under the radar, because so many people don't even share their goals with anyone else because of that upbringing that says, don't tell people your business and all this. So you don't share with anyone else. And then it's okay to keep moving the deadline. You haven't told anyone else that this is the year I'm going to be out of debt. So when December 31st hits and you have to make that same New Year's resolution again, you haven't been accountable to anyone else. There's no one checking in on you. There's no one saying, hey, how's it going? I mean, for me, with many things, my books included, I got it done because I had told other people that I was going to get it done. And I didn't want to embarrass myself seeing them over and over again. And them like, well, what happened to the book? What happened to the book? I thought you were writing a book. Like, I don't like stuff like that. And so sometimes I'll even put things out on social media because I know that once it's public, it's as good as done. Once I say I'm going to do something, then I have to figure out how to make it happen. And a lot of times we hide from telling others because we don't want to be forced to make it happen. I'm going to make it happen in my time. Here's the deal. For many of us, making it happen in our time, it means taking a year or 2 years or 3 years to get something completed that should have been done in 90 days. That's the difference between having accountability and having no accountability. The things that I've been able to create and in a short amount of time is because I've been accountable to others. And even when it's not my friend group or my peer group or something, even with my coaches or mentors, as you know, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough is one of my mentors. His episode on this podcast was absolutely amazing. As a matter of fact, I just texted him and told him it's the most played episode of any episode. So it is absolutely incredible. And my first book I spoke about with Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. When I was in Atlanta, we went to lunch and I told him about my idea and that I had this blog and I was thinking about taking some of the blog posts and doing the book. And he's like, well, get it done. And just knowing that I would see him again some months later, I was like, he said, get it done. I'm going to get it done. I want to be the person that people honor and respect my word, because when I say something, I get it done, right? When I say it's going to be done, it happens. And if it can't happen that way, because, I've learned to surrender, I'm flexible enough to allow things to kind of take their course, but I have an answer for the direction on how things have shifted. Not getting it done doesn't mean I sat on my butt and didn't do anything. It just means that the vision for it has shifted. And so, are you accountable to others? Are you making accountability a priority in your life, in your business? Because again, I believe that accountability is the secret sauce for abundance. Just having someone to hold you to doing the things that you said you were going to do is important. And someone who can pump you up, but also help you pump your brakes if you're off on a tangent, or if you're, busy being busy as opposed to being productive on the things that you said were important to you. So for me, that's one level of accountability. Now, even being accountable to others, though, I still believe the second level to this is being accountable to yourself. It is being accountable to yourself. And I really didn't want to confuse anyone or make this difficult to understand. But here's the deal. I really believe, first and foremost, you have to understand what your personal values are. Like, you have to completely commit to whatever set of guiding principles are going to dictate your life. One of the things that I think about are like, what are the non-negotiables for myself? Meaning no matter what, not for fame, not for fortune, not for likability, not for the shortcut to get to X, Y, or Z, not for anything will I do certain things. It just is what it is. And we live in a society that indulges in the bad behavior of others. When people are being good and they're taking care of business and they're doing things the right way, it's boring. Nobody's checking for it, But the minute they just start wilding out, now all of a sudden they're the talk of the town. And we have to understand that for some people, they don't care what the subject matter is. They just want to be the talk of the town. And so we feed these beasts. We feed them. We don't pay attention and we don't check in, and we're not all concerned until they start to really act out. And there's so many examples of this in media right now. It's like when someone goes low, there's thousands of people on social media that are willing to go lower and lower. And the person who went low wanted attention, but then the people who are in the comments going lower and lower, they just want to get a reaction out of the other commenters. I mean, they're trying to get a reaction from people they don't know and will likely never meet. But when you have personal accountability, it makes you stop and say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Not for you, not for that, not for any reason will I participate in, co-sign on, or contribute to any of these things that don't align with my personal values. And for me, that's what being accountable to myself means. I don't know if you remember, I said just a few weeks ago that if my character changes because of who I'm in conflict with, then wasn't my true character to begin with. Because how I'm feeling today should not change my character. Who I'm not feeling should not change my character. What I don't agree with should not completely change my character. There's still a certain way to deal with things, and there's still a certain way to behave, and there's still a certain way to show up because it's in your character. And to me, personal accountability makes you stop. I don't care what your knee-jerk reaction is. Personal accountability says, whoa, 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 that doesn't really align with who you are. Now, some might say, well, then you're not a free thinker. I believe you have the right to choose how you're going to show up. And if you're going to stay in alignment and not let your flesh put you all the way on the other side of the spectrum of who you want to be and how you're developing. Because there's a lot of times that I've even said, and you guys know, I've talked to you candidly about being harassed online and stuff. And I'm like, oh, these people want Patrice Cunningham. That's my maiden name. Oh, you want to see Patrice Cunningham. But Patrice Washington took a stand many years ago, especially because I'm also accountable to my family, to my husband and my daughter. I don't just represent myself. I represent them too. And so I took a stand 10, 11 years ago that there are just certain things that I won't do and that I won't participate in. There's certain people that I will not be around, that I will not be affiliated with. There's certain places that I will not go. It just is what it is. And so it's kind of a hybrid of being accountable to others, like my family, but it's also about being accountable to myself and not letting anything else, any other person, situation, circumstance dictate or dissuade me from being who I say I am. And so we see so many people who are just falling apart because not only do they have no accountability to others, they don't even have a set of guiding principles or golden rules that they're accountable to for themselves. And I feel like if you can't depend on you, who the heck can you depend on? Because there's nothing worse than breaking a promise to yourself. I don't care who you are, and I don't care what it is. There is nothing worse than breaking a promise to yourself, because I believe it puts you in that negative spiral and cycle of doubting yourself and beating yourself up for what you didn't do or what you didn't accomplish or what you should have done, could have done. And while your brain is cluttered with all of that, you just can't get the clarity you need to do what actually matters. If your brain is in this constant cycle of picking out all the things that are wrong with you and creating all this additional fear and self-doubt and self-ridicule and self-rejection and all this stuff, you don't have the clarity to do what actually matters. And oftentimes that's the clarity that's going to open up the path to your cash. That's the lane that you need to get to your money. That clarity is what you need to build your prosperity. And so it's a cycle. So when you have no personal accountability and when there's no accountability to others and you're not getting things done on time, the way you said you wanted it, this is not about being a perfectionist. But if you set out to accomplish a goal or achieve a task and you keep getting 80% of the way and then doing nothing, or 50% of the way and then stopping to go do something else, when you look back on that, and especially when you see other people doing what it is you said you were going to do, it makes you feel like a failure. And that's tough. But it's a vicious cycle, because that's also why you don't say it out loud anymore. It's also why you don't set a deadline. And your mind is always going to fight to prove itself right. So all the chatter that's going on in your mind and all that clutter that's going on in your mind, it's a part of keeping that cycle going. And so the more that you lack accountability to yourself, to your personal values, to your guiding principles, to your own personal set of golden rules, and the more you lack accountability to others, the harder it is to truly walk with grace and ease into the abundance that you desire. It's so connected. I mean, that's why I love having these conversations on redefining wealth, because again, we always think it's about just the money, the tangible piece, the bank account balance, the size of the house or the cost of the vacation, and it's not. Like, it's so much deeper than that. And there's all these little intricate details that, when woven together, create the results that you have. But just know that without accountability, this journey is even more difficult. Because accountability is not only keeping you on task, but it's also there to hold you up when things just don't turn out the way that you want. And I've said here before that I am committed to the vision, but I'm not attached to how I get there. I believe that there is a great call on my life. And I also believe, if you would have asked me a year ago about this podcast, this wasn't a real thought a year ago. It might have been a fleeting thought, but it wasn't supposed to be real. And definitely not by September of last year. It just wasn't supposed to be. And so I'm flexible. But what I was accountable to with myself and even with my peer groups, with my accountability partner, was the vision. And then one by one, we start to fill in the details. Let me share a powerful story with you. When Abraham Lincoln was facing one of the most crucial decisions of his presidency during the Civil War, he sought clarity through deep focus and reflection. He invited a friend of his, Leonard Swett, to sit with him for hours as he wrestled back and forth with the decision to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. It wasn't that Lincoln really needed Swett to make his decision. He simply needed someone he trusted and someone he believed was solid enough to hold space so he could concentrate and find absolute clarity within himself. Similarly, I believe that my purpose in this season is to hold space for brilliant women who know purpose has evolved, but they need a solid thinking partner to bring it all together. With my VIP private intensive mentorship day, you'll get to give yourself permission to immerse yourself in focused attention and guidance. Whether I come to your community or you join me here in Atlanta, we will spend an entire day mapping out the exact next steps you need to take to live out your purpose fully. With post-VIP day access to one-on-one support via the Redefining Wealth app, you'll have ongoing guidance and accountability. But space is limited, so if you're ready to scale joy and make this summer your most transformative season yet, I want you to apply now. Go to patricewashington.com/VIP. That's patricewashington.com/VIP, and let's see if we're a fit, because I believe your purpose is waiting and my purpose is to serve. There's one more level, and I believe beyond being accountable to others and beyond being accountable to ourselves, you have to ask yourself if you are operating with a spirit of accountability to your Creator. Are you operating with a spirit of accountability to your Creator? And essentially for me, that means simply, what does your faith tell you to do? When you face trials, when you face rejection, when you face fear or self-doubt, when you face anything that's contrary to you achieving what it is you set out to do, what does your faith tell you? And I ask that, and I ask myself often, but I also say that because I meet so many people on this journey through life who are stuck. And they're stuck because of experiencing a past financial failure like I did, losing everything in the recession, or a tragedy like I experienced with my son passing 5 hours after he was born, or they experience some type of loss in their love life, like maybe a significant other walking out, maybe some level of betrayal, really hard stuff, life stuff. And I've been through stuff in every category. So I get it. And sometimes people will say, well, how are you so resilient? And you know what? I really believe it's because the accountability that I feel is not just to myself and it's not just to my friends. I feel accountable to a higher power. And by that, I mean that I believe that I was called, just like all of us are, to a greater purpose. And there is something that I am supposed to do to truly be of value to this world, like to truly make a contribution that matters beyond my bank account and beyond to just me personally, to the masses. And I truly believe that that's the same for all of us. And I think the masses can be the people in your local town, or it could be a global thing, whatever that looks like for you. But the truth of the matter is, when we're not accountable to our Creator, to something that's bigger than us, we get stuck in our own story. And so we go around and around in circles, and we whine and complain, and we whine and complain, and we make it all about us. And the reason that I believe I've been resilient, I always say, one, my faith, hands down, right? But I think I've been resilient because I've adapted this feeling that it's not about me. Nothing that happens to me is really about me. I believe that anytime I come out on the other side of any challenge, anything, that I was blessed to come out of it so I could be a blessing to others. And so as I continue to meet people on the road, as you know, I've been on this tour with Paul Mitchell Schools, and I continue to just meet all these great people all over the country. And there's more things coming up that I can't wait to tell you about. But as I continue to have these opportunities, especially on the road where I can meet people and hug you guys and hear these personal stories, I'm really fascinated by how we make everything all about us. And sometimes it's not until hearing me share my personal story, my testimony, that people go, oh, wow, it's not just me. I've done that. That was my experience. That was some hurt that I've been through. I've been through a betrayal like that. I've had loss like that they go, oh, wow, it's not just me. Right. And it's also maybe not happening to you as much as it's happening for you, which is, that's what we believe in the faith pillar here. And so when I say accountable to your creator, I've been meeting people all over, right? And they're not necessarily Christians. And for me, it's not necessarily what faith you practice, but if you subscribe to a faith, are you actually practicing it? Like, are you actually adhering to the principles set within whatever your spiritual text is? Like, are you actually doing it? Are you actually doing the work? Are you actually living out the principles? When you experience a challenge, are you actually going to whatever your sacred text is and looking at what it says about forgiveness or humility or love or relationships or any of these things? Like, are you actually accountable to what it is you say you believe? Because if not, that's also a problem. That's also going to keep you from the abundance you say you want. There's something that is misaligned. There's something that is just not adding up. There truly is. I was having a conversation with a girlfriend recently who's Muslim. And I said to her, after she told me this whole story, and we've talked about this story before, and we've kind of gone back and forth. And I said, what do you guys believe about forgiveness? Now, as a Christian, here's what I believe. As someone who has gone through different grief counseling, and I've had tons of therapy, as I share often, and I've adopted this definition for forgiveness, which is giving up the possibility of a better past and not living my life in I wish so-and-so wouldn't have done this. I wish I would have said that. I wish this could have happened. The fact of the matter is it's gone. The past is done. And all we have is the future. All we have is today, really. And we have hope for the future. But we're not in control, really, of any of it. And so I had to start looking up scriptures on forgiveness. I had to start looking up scriptures on who I am, that I was created on purpose, with purpose, that I was created in his image when I was dealing with feeling ugly and insecure about my looks and about, just who I am in general. Like, I had to start finding answers for that. And now I feel a sense of accountability to my faith, to my creator, to the sacred text that I say I prescribe to. And so that probably threw you for a loop. Not what you may have wanted to hear or thought you were going to hear, but I think it's something that we need to consider. And that's what this show is about for me. It's about really broadening the way we look at wealth, but the way we look at life, because at the end of the day, our life is what impacts our ability to produce wealth, how we live our life, how we practice our faith, who we allow in our environment, how we take care of the vessel, the one and only vessel we were given to execute the vision that we have, how we feed our spirit, our mind, body, and soul, or don't feed it. All of this matters. And so I want you to consider these 3 levels. Do you have accountability in place to others? Not someone who's going to enable you. And as much as they love you, I can hold my husband accountable to what he's supposed to do way better than he can hold me accountable. He'll probably be the first to tell you that. I knew that I needed a sister circle. I knew that I needed a wisdom circle, mastermind groups. I know that I must invest regularly in coaching, that I must have mentors around. And you hear me talk about all of that all the time because I believe it's such a huge part of my success. And I know that being accountable to myself and the golden rules that I've written for myself about what I will and will not do for any reason, for anyone, what I will participate in and what I won't participate in, what I will co-sign on and what I won't co-sign on, what I will contribute to and what I won't contribute to. It's all very clear to me. My granny used to say when I was little, let your yes be your yes and your no be your no. So I don't care who you are and for what reason, I will not compromise my integrity to be liked, to get your likes. I won't do it. I've turned down lots of opportunities that came with more money. I've said no to working with lots of people in different ways because it did not align with who I am. Lots of opportunities. If I was in this to be on TV regularly on some show, you would have seen me doing a weekly show somewhere in 2015 and 2016. But it didn't align with who I am. And I'm accountable to myself. I'm accountable to myself. I have to be able to lie on my deathbed and know that I did it my way, which for me was the right way. There's nothing that I want to lie on that bed and regret. Because what I can't do is blame anyone else. And what I can't do is say, well, I did it because I needed the money and I needed this and I needed that. Nah. Because in the long run, I'm always going to be okay. It's never over until I win. And I'm never going to settle. I'm never going to compromise my integrity. And I think when you live in that space, as you've heard me say with the people pillar, there's always someone watching you who has the power to bless you. When you don't compromise, when you do chase purpose and not money, there is someone who is watching you who can't wait to be in relationship with you and be a blessing to you and offer an opportunity that will far, far surpass what it is you were willing to settle for. Hey, podcast family, big news. I've just launched a game-changing app designed exclusively for you. It is officially the Redefining Wealth app with Patrice Washington. Now, all of my courses, coaching, live streams, and most importantly, my community are just a tap away, all under one roof. You can download the app now for seamless access to exclusive content and a vibrant community of purpose chasers from all over the world. This is the ultimate hub for all things Patrice Washington and all things Redefining Wealth. You can search for it in your app store or find the link at redefiningwealth.app. That's redefiningwealth.app. Do not miss out. Your journey to redefining wealth just got a whole lot easier. Download the app today and let's take this adventure of redefining wealth for ourselves to the next level together. And lastly, again, being accountable to your creator, being accountable to the sacred text that you chose for your life. What's the point in choosing it if you're not going to follow it? Some people will say, well, that's just how I grew up, so that's what I subscribe. Well, the best thing about childhood is that it's over. And so if you're an adult and you've made a choice to be accountable to some faith or religion or spiritual practice, then practice it. Then do it. It needs to be a part of your daily lifestyle. It needs to be part of your morning or evening ritual. It needs to be a part of how you live your life, because then that dictates what you will do and what you will not do, how you will get things accomplished and how you will not take shortcuts to get them accomplished. And so honestly, I really hope that this is something for you to chew on today and something for you to really consider as you continue to pursue abundance and wealth and prosperity and you go after everything that you deserve and you desire. Just make sure that it aligns with what you've said to others, with what you've promised yourself, and the faith that you subscribe to. Just make sure that in order to get the abundance you desire, that it's all in alignment with what you've chosen to be accountable to or who you've chosen to be accountable to. I hope that helps. I hope that helps. I don't know if you guys realize this. I always just speak from my heart. I have an idea of the topic, but I always just allow it to flow from my heart. And I hope that from my heart to yours, that speaks to you and that gets you closer to what it is you say you want. Because this is more than money. This is more than money. I truly want to see you live a great life and live a purposeful life and live a fulfilled life. Was that not amazing? Did I sound like a baby? When I'm listening back to it, I'm literally like, oh my gosh, I sound so young. But I do love that there's a lot of consistency for me when listening to this, even the idea that we still use wisdom circles in our current format of Mastery and Momentum. Those are the accountability support pods that we have in the mastermind. And even at Redefining Wealth Live, when you come and join me October 7th and 8th, I think something you can appreciate is that in order to have accountability with actually taking what we're talking about at the conference and turning it into an action plan, we have wisdom circles. So it's an opportunity to intentionally talk through what you just heard, what you just learned, and what you're going to do with it. And we will do a couple of those on day 1 and day 2. Love, love, love the format. It was one of the most favorite pieces, according to the survey of last year's event. And so wisdom circles are coming back. And I'm just also really proud of how my own list of accountability has continued to grow in this season. Not only do I have my own, I call her primary care coach. I also invest in coaching whenever I need support with a particular skill. I have my prayer partner, Carly Harvey Raymond, who you guys are familiar with. She's one of my best friends. I have my super friends, which is one of the panels that you will be introduced to at Redefining Wealth Live. My therapist, my now partner, so many different just forms of accountability, including God, as far as I'm concerned, because I do still believe that I have a responsibility and a duty to walk this purpose on my life all the way out. And I just wanted to say, if you are looking for a community or for an aligned coach, we would love to be a part of the people who hold you accountable in this season. As I said, who you are accountable to makes a huge impact on your potential. And if I can ever be of service, I would love to be. There's a link in the show notes that will take you through this cute little video guide that I created to help you figure out what type of private mentorship I could potentially offer you. You'll hear me next week with one of my clients, Dr. Lisa, who just completed Pillar Mastery, and she's got some big goals to complete. And I'm excited to continue on as a part of her wisdom circle, as her aligned coach. And I would love to be that for you as well. So go to patricewashington.com/mentor and just answer the questions honestly, and it'll guide you to whether you might want a power hour with me, a VIP day, one-on-one coaching. There are several ways that we can work together, and I would love to do that in this season. So patricewashington.com/mentor. Listen, tell me in the comments what type of accountability you keep around yourself in this season. It always makes for such a great conversation. And until next time, I want you to go live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and earn more without ever feeling like you have to chase money. I'll talk to you later.